Welcome to this edition of BSW Tech Dive. I am John Lynch, Director of Business Development here at BSWUSA.com, Broadcast Supply Worldwide, and our direct line, 800-426-8434. Our topic is SAS, Sierra Automated Systems, brand new partner for BSW, and the famous Al is on with us here. Al Salci, founder of SAS. And Al, great to have you on the show. Thank you for taking the time. And I want to give an idea to the viewers of the different levels that SAS can now address. Particularly, let's talk consoles. A lot of engineers are familiar with Rubicon, which is for larger format operations, but now there's Stratus and also the M class, which could fit into some much smaller markets that used to not really consider SAS. Give us a little breakdown of where each fits.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Thank you for having me on. Hello, everybody. Essentially small, medium, and large. The Rubicon is the largest. Really could be used for television. Has many output bus sends, so you could do a lot of in-show, in-segment, different things for a produced show. The medium size is the Stratos. That's 4 send buses essentially, but a lot of the same features and functions. Automatic mix minus, talk back built in, and everything else, such as even being able to not turn on a phone channel, for example, if your delay's not safe. So, we have interfaces to the various ancillary devices so that if your delay's not safe, you can't turn the phone module on, things like that. Then, of course, the small is the M class. We call that for the mini. And all of them range from 8 to 24 fader channels for maybe a simpler format, music, or for voice tracking and production, things like that.
Anyway, on the M class, I focus on this because I came from small market radio, really small market radio. So I always look out for those folks and see what we could do here. What you're getting is maybe in some cases a smaller footprint, but you're not giving up capabilities, maybe some additional features and such, but the capability is all the way up, down the line, all the same as I understand it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Actually, it all has the same features and functions that the big ones do. It's just not as many send buses that you can manually set, but a lot of the automation, like automatic mix minus generation, it still all happens because a lot of those features and functions are in the engine, not the control surface. The control surface is just presenting to the user a tactile field control that looks and feels like a radio console or a production console, or even a television console. The Rubicon, the big one, is used quite often in television, and a lot of interfaces to the different automation systems. That's part of the engine, not the control surface. So even if you have, for example, we got a television station in San Diego that's using a M class as just to pot up the mics in case the automation system that's running the engines, fails during a newscast. They can pot up the mics at least. So, even though you're under complete virtual control or automation control, you still might have a control surface in addition to back it up or to enhance the controllability.
Now, one other one we haven't discussed yet. Tell us about One Touch.
Oh, One Touch. Okay, so all our engines are have mixed buses, EQ, dynamics, microphone processing. It has logic, DCIO, all built in. And using simple IP messages, including SNMP with standard MIB tables, you can control any aspect of the engine. So that said, we can have any automation. Like I said earlier, we could do crossfades, level control, and be under the complete control of automation system. Or, of course, you can write your own app. We have a published set of all the IP messages, very simple IP messages. So we have a couple of different applications where it presents to the user on a touch screen a graphic of faders and on-off buttons, program select. So it's some folks call it a virtual console, but it's still a device sending messages to the engine. And it's the engine that does all the work. It's not the surface itself. The surface or control or console or the app just simply sends IP messages. And they're simple IP messages that are published. And we have a lot of folks that write their own applications for it.
Are you saying that you don't have to have a Rubicon or a M-Class or a Stratus in order to use the One Touch?
Absolutely, that's correct. That's correct. You do not need a hardware surface if you use the One Touch. And the One Touch is just sort of a brand name for our console app. In fact, any of our engines, even before IP engines were IP, we've been doing engines and consoles for many years now. During the pandemic, when people were locked out, they couldn't do their shows because they were locked out. Well, when they were locked out, they also couldn't go in to try and reconfigure anything. So if you were an SAS user, whether you had a 20-year-old console or a 5-year-old console, we could go in, and as long as you had a PC that was connected in some way, shape, or form to the engine, whether it was a sound card, analog and digital, and they would use it for YouTube videos, or the internet PC, typically called corporate PCs, or if you had a similar PC that was on the audio AOIP network, we use Dante. Either one, it doesn't matter. We logged into it and we got access to it, installed the console app at the remote site for the host. We replaced the host microphone using, we used cleanfeed.net. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with that, but cleanfeed.net is a free app you can run on your PC. We installed it at the studio and then installed it at the host's computer. And now he was able to, and we configured the app so it was controlling the same sources to the same bus outputs. So that was remote control of the hardware console. We could also use different output buses to create its own console, mix console on its own, or we could use the same output buses and add different sources, thereby adding more faders to your hardware console. But in this case, when we were locked out, we would remote control the console so that now the user host at his home could use any USB microphone or any microphone, and take calls, phone calls, as if he was sitting in front of the console. So now all the phone lines were the same and everything else. All the mix minuses would go back to the caller just as if he was in front of the board. The only difference is he was at his home, and instead of using the mic, he was using his mic that was connected to his computer, clean feed to the core PC that was at the studio, already connected and into one of the engines. So whether it was a 20-year-old or AOIP engine, we were able to remote control the console. But you don't need the console in order to run the app if you're just using it for a music format. People still like the tactile feel of the console,
especially us old people. That's what we're used to.
Because how many times have you tried texting on your phone and a Z ends up being an A or something, or you always inadvertently hit the wrong area of the touch screen. So with the One Touch is a huge screen, so it gives you plenty of space. But that's a big screen, or you could run it on an iPad. We have an iPad app as well, sending the same IP type messages as the One Touch or even the hardware console. And it's a pretty easy thing, and if it's not too intensive where you need to change a lot of things. It's perfect for music or voice tracking.
Now, you mentioned engines. You have a couple of them. Could you kind of give us a little bit of a difference between the two? And did you actually name one of them for an old John Wayne movie? Of course, it's kind of a silly thing to say because there are no new John Wayne movies, but hey, go ahead.
Yeah, so the in-house project name for that when we were developing it was the Rio Grande. And then it ended up being Rio Bravo by the time it hit the market. So the Rio Bravo, we got two engines, basically small and large. Small and large. The Rio Bravo that has option modules for your discrete analog input and output and a microphone level input. And it has in and out for AES digital. These are discrete audios. And it has also outputs to drive your meters and for meter information, headphones, and cue for your control surface. And the small one is the nucleus, and that has a fixed number of discrete I/O. It's got 16 in, half and half analog and digital, and 32 out, half and half analog and digital. And the reason why there's more outputs so that you could drive functions on your console such as meters, talkback, headphones, and cue. So both engines are Dante based, have the unique, by default it's unicast. It's a unicast system. And I was mentioning before, 6 gets you 4. 6 megabits gets you 4 channels of streaming audio from one device to another. And 6 megabits in a gigabit pipe is like putting a coffee straw through a sewer pipe. So you don't have to worry about overwhelming the switches or packet flooding, some guys call it, or switch flooding. It's actually running out of bandwidth is the real technical name. But when you don't have to worry about that because the system is a unicast and it's a flow of 6 gets you 4. That means 12 would get you 8, and 24 megabits will get you 16. That's 8 stereo from any one device to any other device, its own unicast flow, and still 24 megabits in a gigabit pipe is a coffee straw, maybe little bit of a bigger coffee straw through a sewer pipe. So the engines itself all have the same features and functions. It all comes with DCIO. For your Mica mic arms, for example, or your on-air lights, rolling stuff like still Vox Pros use DCIO to roll playback and things like that. And it also has built-in EQ and dynamics mic processing, downward expanders, limiters, compressor, and AGC, along with EQ. Equalization, all built into the engine. So both engines is like a studio in a box, and how you control it is up to you. Whether you want an actual hardware for a tactile feel, or you use a touchscreen.
Al, great information. Really appreciate you being on the show. And this is a great introduction for people to understand that, hey, SAS is now available from BSW, and it's a great partnership just getting underway. And thanks for being part of the show. For Al Salci of SAS, I'm John Lynch. We thank you for joining us for this edition of BSW Tech Dive.